Finding death records in cemeteries is quite obvious, but traveling to each cemetery and walking the cemeteries can be an almost impossible task. This video will give some ways to find cemetery records without traveling to the cemeteries, or at least make it easier to find the tombstones. Many years ago, my husband and I went to find the tombstones of two of my relatives. We had found their names on Find a Grave. We found the cemetery and parked in the middle of the cemetery. We had no idea where to find the tombstones. It was a good-sized cemetery. I started on one side of the cemetery and my husband started on the other. It took us about an hour to walk the cemetery, and we nearly gave up. When we met in the middle near our car, we found the tombstones right next to our car. This was a time when the GPS from Find a Grave or Billion Graves would have saved us a lot of time. But I guess we had good exercise that day. One of the best known online sites is Find a Grave, run by Ancestry.com. The information is all done by volunteers and is provided free online. This video will not show you how to use Find a Grave. Find a Grave has tutorials you can watch. You can do a very simple search by putting in the last name only, which is the required field. You can filter your search by adding first name, birth, or death year, etc. to get more accurate searches. If you're interested in volunteering to add cemetery records, just scroll down the page on Find a Grave until you find this section where you can upload information that is not currently in the database. On this Find a Grave page, we find more than just death information on Lawrence Burt Brown. We also learned that his occupation was a telegraph operator and that he died from appendicitis. We find family members, his parents, and siblings listed on links to their pages. Here is a tombstone found on Find a Grave for Daphne Smith Anderson. Notice that the tombstone doesn't give the death date, but the person who posted has added the death date. In this case, it was better to search online than to go to the actual cemetery. Billion Graves is provided by Google and is newer and very similar to Find a Grave. It is also free to use. The volunteers must use a phone that can record GPS so that an individual searching in the cemetery can then be directed to the tombstone. Find a Grave has some GPS-directed tombstones also. This is very helpful in most cemeteries because they are so large that it is often difficult to find your relative's tombstone, even by knowing which cemetery they are buried in. You start by adding first and last name, and the next screen will allow you to filter to get more accurate information. Billion Graves also has a short video. Billion Graves also is done by volunteers and has instructions on how to add information to their database. Family Search also has cemetery indexes. Just use the Search tab and then click on Records. It will take you to this page. Then click on Browse All Collections. Type in Cemetery in the filter by collection title. You can type in the state you are looking for and then cemetery. This tells you how many records are in the database and when it was last updated. This California record has 105,227 images and was last updated in December of 2016. These records are not indexed, so it does not tell us how many names, but how many images you will need to look through. Just remember that some of these records might be in alphabetical order, or might have an index at the beginning or end of the record. They also might be in chronological order, so if you know the approximate year of death, you might be able to look through just a portion of the records. Try typing in funeral instead of cemetery and see what results you get. I'm going to show you how to use the catalog in Family Search to look for cemetery records. You can go to Search, and then down here to catalog. And I'm going to type in Barron County, Kentucky, because that's where I have a lot of family. And I'm going to go to online, search. And right here at the top, these are in alphabetical order. You can look for cemeteries. And I looked at this one. So let's go down. This is a non-indexed record. It does have images, so I'm going to click and notice that it says item 4. So I'm going to click on the little camera and we're going to look. This is the beginning of the item 1. There's the end of item 1. Beginning of the second one. Okay, let's keep going. Okay. There's the end of 2, beginning of the third one, and end. And then if we click here, we see Kentucky Cemetery Records for Barron County. So as we look at it, it is a book. It's 25 pages long. I've looked at this before, but let's just go. These are different cemeteries. It shows you here, so William Logan, Sally Logan. This is when they were born, when they died. So you can look through page by page and see the names. It just appears that they've put it in the order that they took the records. So let's go to the end of this. There's the end. This is the last page. You can always look at the last page. Sometimes it is indexed, but this one does not have an index. Now go on, and it says Barron County Tombstone Inscription, so it's more records. The next item is more records. Anyways, that's what you do to look through the catalog. And you might find something that's already indexed, but in this case, these are just records. You have to actually look page by page. And I want to show you how to use USGenWeb. Notice it says usgenweb.org. So you go to this site, and I'm going to click on Missouri, and then it has choose a county, and most of the states have something similar. Let's try Carroll County and see if they have cemeteries, and it gives a listing of the cemeteries. Tells the township location, the town, the date it was established, so you can find information about the cemetery, the latitude and longitude of the cemetery. So let's go ahead and click on one of them. I clicked on this one before. I'm going to click on a new one. Let's see what it tells us. So it has a picture of the cemetery, a map of where it's at, the township it's in, and here's a library if you needed a library reference. Here's the land grants for it. Anyway, so you learn about the cemetery. Now let me go back one. I clicked on this Antioch. I want to show you here. Now on this one, it sends you can go to find a grave to find the people in it. Some of these will actually list many of the people, but some of them send you to find a grave. But this is a good resource to learn about the library and where it's at. Ask your family members if anyone has pictures of the tombstones. If a family member is traveling to an area near a family cemetery, see if they're willing to go take pictures. It is fun to see the many ways that tombstones are decorated. This one has a heart showing that Carol Coulter was well loved by her family. We can often learn more about a person from their tombstone. You might learn that they were in the military. Some have pictures of a person Many have markings of inscriptions showing they were Christian. Some give markings showing they were Masons. It is important to look at the tombstones and see if they have clues telling you something about the person. Remember to search the cemeteries for other relatives. Family members are often buried very close, and occasionally they are buried in a plot together. Some tombstones might tell who their parents or children are. On this first one, I cannot read the first name, but Orado was a son of William A. and Mary A. Snow. On the second one, Fanny F. was the wife of Albert Filey. Become familiar with family names so that you can recognize them as you walk around the cemetery or be able to look up family names in the online databases. Happy hunting!